offline conversion or offline conversion tracking for lead generation. Once you've done it, strategies or ideas about how to migrate or move over to
Just check the book.
optimizing towards the actual conversion value rather than just staying on your target CPA or your current cost per lead model.
Michael, I might not be able. There's nothing in the book about offline
If
conversion tracking.
It doesn't exist.
Shit. Oh man, I'm screwed. All right, well, I'm gonna lean on you for this topic then, because if it's not in my AdWords book, I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna need you on this one.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
So, context of this, we've just had a big client of ours finally, after 2 years of working with us, get their offline sales data integrated into their Google Ads account, their lead generation. They get probably around, how many? Probably around 3,500 leads a month.
Okay.
And the cost per lead is usually between $10 to $15, but actually like a multi-step form for a service. They haven't had any visibility on a campaign, ad group, or keyword level of revenue. I was doing all this off like these spreadsheets and stuff for them, but it capped out because it hit like millions of rows and literally like it broke.
Yep.
Literally didn't load. So I'm like, spoke to the developer, hey, can you just feed the data in? Funnily enough, they were able to do it in a week, even though I've been asking for 2 years. So
wow, look at that.
The data's coming into the account. We're getting, I think about 80 sales so far from about 380 leads from like the last few days. I'm just trying to think of the maths because I know that the cost per lead was averaging around $17 for the last week, but the cost per sale is $89. So, and there's like probably around 100 sales confirmed in there now. So my question, or I'm putting it out there, is because I haven't done this in a while for like I've done offline conversion tracking multiple times, but at a new stage with a high volume, it's the transition because this client has been very, very, very sensitive to cost per lead. And then now that we've got the cost per sale in there, it's about the transition plan of number one, do we actually change the campaigns over to a target return on ad spend or a cost per sale? Thumbs up. Number two is the plan, is it done on the whole account or is it just done on a few campaigns? And then number three, over what time period do we start? As in, do we let the campaigns build up a few hundred sales and then we transition over, or do we do it immediately? And then number four is, how long do we let it run for to ensure that it's actually running well? So I know there are a few points there that we may forget.
Let's start with one.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
When do you think, once this data started pushing into the account, would be an appropriate time to start using that as a bidding model on Google Ads for lead generation? How many days or weeks?
If you get that volume, probably 7 to 14 days.
Cool. I was thinking
a couple of weeks, probably. Yeah.
And I was just doing that just based on the fact of just making sure that, well, number one, the integration doesn't break randomly. And then number two, like there is a consistency of sales over that period to know that it wasn't just a spike and then it goes down, because once again, there's a sensitivity of these algorithms to, if it does start spiking and things are like a lot of outliers, you're literally cooking the account. And then ultimately the business, because this business is heavily reliant on Google Ads because their SEO has just tanked over the last few years. Number two is, how long would you be running it as a smart bidding for target return on ad spend to know if it's working well?
Forever. It will go up and down. Sometimes it's going to work well, sometimes not. Auction activity. This is a dynamic auction system. So things are going to change. Market conditions are going to change. But the terrible, boring, simple answer that is not nuanced, so it is therefore not probably the most accurate, but it's the best that we could really give you, is I would probably say, I don't know, Michael, what's your default on that?
I'm getting about 4 to 6 weeks intuitively.
Yeah.
I'd say give it 2 weeks for the data to be pushing into the account, just in like it's in its own custom column. I can measure it all. The custom columns I've created are the value divided by cost, the return on ad spend, the cost per sale, and the what was the other one I created? Profit per sale, or like the difference between the sale. I think there was another one. And I think about 2 weeks to let the data be flowing in, especially the volume. And the important thing is the volume that's coming in. There's quite a high volume, so I'm confident about that. Then about 4 to 6 weeks to let it run without me making any major changes as the bidding model. What are your thoughts on like
one
strategies
thing
for once the data's actually in the account? Because people are like, just set up offline conversion data. It's like, no shit, man. Like, wow, what an original idea. But once it's actually in the account and you need that transition plan, what are we're just workshopping ideas right now.
Yeah, well, this is part of the fun part. You've probably been using cost per acquisition bidding, target CPA for a while because you've had to, because you didn't have value-based conversions. So as a lead generation-based business, this could be pretty exciting because at the micro conversion level, if you're tracking those like secondary conversions or at primary conversions, so the actual lead coming through, or hopefully if you're doing offline conversions, it's actual sales occurring, right? Things are actually happening. They've signed up, whatever your funnel is, and you've seen multiple stages of that. So hopefully you're using all those, like you're using an MQL, you're using an SQL, you're using like the final, sale, whatever. And now you can start assigning those values. And hopefully part of your offline conversion tracking has been, you've been sophisticated, and we're not going to get into this episode because that is way too advanced for most, but like, how do you assign a value? You want to hopefully get to a point where you're assigning actual revenue value or profit value to each of those steps in the funnel. And then that way, like I said, that's the fun part. You can start utilizing target return ad spend or maximize conversion value without a TROAS to essentially tell Google what's more valuable, this thing or this thing. And then it can start finding intent signals, search terms, whatever, or people that are most likely to get you those high value things. And it's hopefully going to, increase the quality of the leads that are coming through. And it's going to get you more people that actually sign up and buy something, as opposed to just being looky-loos and they're not really interested. They're just sort of like browsing, but it's not a good fit for some reason, which is going to happen regardless. I mean, smart bidding is not perfect. But I mean, as far as like testing it out, right, that's without getting too tactical. I mean, obviously that's going to be number one is start assigning the values, and then structure. You might need to start restructuring your account. Every account is different, right? Around campaigns, ad groups, whatever, so that you can control that target return ad spend at that specific segment level, right? So some audiences or some campaigns or some keywords are going to lead to high value whatever conversions, whatever that means for your funnel, than others. And you want to be able to control the target return ad spend levels accordingly. And because of that, you might need to restructure your account or your ad groups, campaigns, or whatever. So that's my first thoughts.
Yeah. With assigning values for this account, it actually is the dynamic value based from the actual value in the back end coming in. And I think it's important for people, if you're going to do this, try to do that rather than assigning values, actually give it the real value, not an average value, the real value, because what you're wanting to do is to load the machine up with like the actual data. I was thinking this morning during my meditation, I was like, is this actually going to make the account perform worse because Google actually has the revenue data? And then my conspiracy brain starts thinking like, they're going to start like etching away because they can see the actual profitability, the difference between the spend and the revenue generation. And those are just what I think about. But it's just an interesting thing just to think about. I'd be really curious if anyone in the universe, being like in the Google world, if like actually knew that if once they put their actual revenue data in, did it actually make the account perform better, or did it actually start performing worse in terms of actual business profitability at the end? Like by giving Google more, whilst they claim that they're optimizing towards it, did they actually use it to arbitrage to go, well, look, they're making this much, let's just make an extra 10% here. I'd be really curious if anyone actually knew that, because I think that's a thing that either people don't think about, or when they do think about it, it's just like a fleeting thought rather than going, is this actually a viable option to feed the data in, or is it better to have a third-party tool that Google feeds their data in, your offline feeds in there, so then there's no way for Google to have that visibility where they can actually try to make a financial arbitrage on you.
Yeah, but then the smart bidding can't operate, right? Because then it doesn't have those values itself to go after. So that's the downside there.
I suppose,
Yeah, I mean, so
but is smart bidding smart, my friends? Is it smart?
Sometimes
because it
it's
might be dumb because you're actually going. It's like when It's almost like when someone comes into like to buy something, if you're a salesperson, if you know they've only got $100 and you know they've only got $100, you're gonna be like, okay, how do I make this worse? Versus if you know someone's got like $10,000 in their pocket, you're gonna do different things. You'll be like, oh, I might upsell them this, or like maybe I'll just kind of like not give them a discount because I know they can afford it. You know, the whole like, they can afford it. Like if they don't do it, they're not gonna leave. So
yeah,
I know it's going in that direction, but yeah, just something else to thinking about as well. Like, just got to keep thinking about these things because Google Ads is an investment that you're putting money in to get a high return. If you started investing in something and they're going to charge you more to get the same return, you've got to really, this isn't some like YOLO, we're just throwing up some ads. This is investment, not advertising. Really important.
Yeah,
And as my
absolutely.
investor mind thinks, it's like, where do people try to take a clip along the way? You know, when you buy shares, there's foreign exchange fees, like platform fees, and all these things. And before you know it, you're lost like 5 to 10% of your capital gains, and you're like, did you actually lost a lot of money there? Anyway, sorry, I'm ranting.
No, you're good. I mean, that's part of the pod is just ranting and raving, so all of our nerdy followers can appreciate it. I was just going to add real quick because we got to actually wrap this up. I can't believe it. We're at the end of the hour, but real quick, folks. I want to say when you are going to make this transition, sometimes you need to get developers involved. You need to get someone in that runs the CRM for the company or Salesforce, whatever it is that you're using. Sometimes I think it's important, especially as an agency or someone that's going to be working with those people, to make it really clear that this offline conversion value import and assigning conversion values, etc. To be honest, the whole idea is to make smart bidding smart, but even with all the right numbers and all the connections, it might not work better than what's been working with max conversions with a target CPA or just max conversions uncapped. It is possible. So I want to make that clear because sometimes it's a lot of investment and it's a lot of work. And then that sort of sets this expectation that it's going to work so much dramatically better because now we can use target return ad spend like those e-commerce companies. But honestly, guys, sometimes that just isn't the case. So make sure you're setting realistic expectations for yourself or for the stakeholders that you report to. If you're managing an account, it's not a guarantee that just because you're assigning values that it's going to all of a sudden work better. The idea is mostly that you can connect a good quality conversion that Google couldn't see before back to the ad account to make the smart bidding smart. But when we're talking about specifically assigning values, and maybe there's a lot of calculations that need to be involved with that, don't expect that is going to overnight change the account. Sometimes maximize target cost per acquisition is just going to work better, and that's okay. We're here to do what's going to work best. We're not here to just chase dreams, like pipeline dreams that just aren't reality. So obviously give it a fair test, give it several weeks, several months, depending on your account and the volume that's going through it. But be realistic. Sometimes it's not going to work better, and that's okay. That's part of testing and figuring out what is going to work. So.
And lastly, sales cycle. This can only really work well if the click and the lead and the purchase were in like a 90-day window. If your sales cycle's longer than that, like someone clicked today, submitted a lead today, and then in 105 days they bought, that data's not going to push in. The Google Ads like documentation says it's like it uses the Google Click ID still. Is it still the Google Click ID or is there other contributing factors?
Google Click ID is the big one.
Google Click ID. So number one, you need to make sure your Google Click ID is pushing through. Like this is all the technical stuff, but we're talking about strategy. But when it comes to strategy, you got to think, is the buying cycle over 90 days? Because if it is, or a certain percentage is over that 90 days and that doesn't push in, then you might be culling things that are actually getting you high value sales, but take longer. And sometimes it could have been like the more enterprise deal, the bigger deal that needed funding, or it could be that you're working with a big, like, for example, if you're offering a service and then it goes to a big company and their budgets are set for that department till the next financial year, but like everything's locked in, you can't attribute that sale back. And then you're turning off things that are actually working to get you sales. So it's important that you have this data in your account, but also maybe have an offline data attribution system that you can actually do attribution based on all sales based on the lead, because Google is not going to be your only source because there's a 90-day limitation window. And what's crazy, guys, is not all business happens in 90 days. Ooh.
Wait a minute. I don't think that's what my book said.
Yes. Add words.
All right, Michael.